The Peter Schiff Show.
Hey, what's up, Peter?
Not much. What's your question?
About you, people like you and Ron Paul. It's really a comment. Conservative libertarians, I think you guys would convert a lot more liberals if you took a different tact when arguing with them, like, by acknowledging the fact that, laissez-faire type capitalism has a lot of problems. And just, basically offering...
Well, I would disagree that it has. What are the problems that you think it has? And I think socialism has a lot of problems. I think that capitalism minimizes those problems.
Yeah, well, that's two different things. See, I mean, of course I agree with you about socialism, but I'm thinking that there are problems like inequality that can, I think that's generally considered
well, but inequality is not necessarily a problem, and you have inequality without capitalism. But I don't think inequality in and of itself is a problem. You're never going to have everybody being completely equal, and in fact, one of the reasons that people want to achieve wealth is because they don't want to be equal. They want to exceed. And you have an incentive. If everybody was equal, you would destroy all the incentives. But anyway, it's an interesting discussion, so stick around. We got a quick break coming up, and we'll be right back, and we will continue with your points when we get back. You're listening to the Peter Schiff Show here at SchiffRadio.com.
The Peter Schiff Show.
We're talking to John, who had called up about the problems, or one of the problems that he sees with capitalism is that there is inequality. Is that correct, John?
I misstated that. My point was basically I don't want complete equality, but I'm just saying that I think it would be more healthy for an economy and a society to have somewhat of a more evenly distributed, wealth than what we currently have.
Well, there are a lot of problems with that. First of all, is then you have to have some bureaucrat who has to decide arbitrarily that somebody has too much money and someone else doesn't have enough, and we have to take money away from the people that we believe have too much and give it to the people that we believe don't have enough. So in order to do that, you have to have this government authority that I think is, inherently oppressive, and because you're basically legalizing theft. But I think if you actually look at the benefits of inequality, right? Number one, the reason that people want to be rich is because they can have a lot more, they can enjoy a much better life than if they were poor. So you have to have inequality to have incentives for people to create businesses and grow the economy. If people are all going to be the same, regardless of what they do, they're not going to, work to achieve wealth. Now, I understand you're not saying that we should take away all of the gains from hard work. They should just be better distributed. But I think if you look at the way capitalism works, in the opposite of capitalism, socialism, first of all, you don't have equality because you have the people who are politically connected end up being a lot richer than everybody else. But even if you set that aside and just look at the people, you have a lot of poor people. Let's say if you want to look at wealth and you want to put people on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's say under socialism, everybody's a 1. Under capitalism, let's say you have some people that are 10, some people that are 9, some people that are 8. People achieve various degrees of wealth. But let's say under capitalism, nobody is a 1. Maybe the lowest anybody is a 2. But now, yes, is there a big discrepancy between a 2 and a 10? Yeah, there's a big discrepancy that didn't exist when everybody was a 1. But the bottom line is now nobody's a 1. The lowest anybody is a 2. So even though you have this big disparity between a 10 and a 2, the 2 is still better off than a 1. So it's capitalism that moved everybody up from 1 to 2, even if it moves some people up to 5 or some people up to 10. People are better off. And so capitalism lifts all boats. It just doesn't lift them all to the same degree. And we don't want that to be the case. But look, ultimately, everybody, maybe the lowest will be a 3 and then a 4. I mean, people, you're going to continue to move the bottom up. The freer the economy is, the more capitalism you have, the more the government tries to redistribute the wealth to make it fairer. Ultimately, what's going to happen is you're going to stop that rising tide. It's not going to lift as many boats as high as it would if the government stayed out.
Well, look, I mean, I agree, but my goal is to, advance libertarianism And I don't think that the way you and like Ron Paul argue is helping, because you're not acknowledging any of the problems that we've had in the past.
Well, I acknowledge the problems that exist today that are the cause of government intervention, that because of the Federal Reserve and because of the monetary and fiscal policy and bailouts and subsidies. There is a lot of damage. I acknowledge that the middle class is suffering because of these policies that are being pursued, but they are not capitalist. They are socialist type policies that are being pursued, and that is the problem. But I mean, what do you think? What would you do differently if you were talking to somebody who was saying capitalism is no good, we need more government? What would you say that different from what I'm saying to persuade them that otherwise?
No, here's the difference. I would say, say they brought up an argument about, a monopoly or something like that, and they were price gouging because they had a monopoly. I would say, hey, maybe a monopoly would develop, but if you don't like their prices, then don't pay for it. Just like the situation with Bank of America right now. If they're charging for a service that they're providing, the debit card transactions or whatever, then just don't pay for it. Pull your money out of Bank of America.
Well, I don't know that that's much different than what I say when I get that question, although what I try to explain to people who ask that question is that most of the monopolies that exist are only monopolies because of a government-granted privilege or license. That it's the government that creates monopolies. It's the free market that breaks them up or prevents them from coming into existence. But I also would point out that if somebody was able to achieve a monopoly without any help from government, the only way they can do that is by keeping prices low. Because if the prices weren't low, somebody would come in and compete for those monopoly prices. So the goal of a free market is to give you low prices and high quality. And if you need a lot of competitors to do that or none, it doesn't matter. It's the end result that counts. So part of a lot of the antitrust laws are there not because they want to protect the consumer, but because they want to protect weaker competitors from stronger competitors. We don't want competition for the sake of competitors. We want competition for the sake of low prices and high quality. And if we can achieve that without a lot of competitors, hey, so much the better. Let them do something else. But anyway, hey, thank you for your call. We will be back. We got a lot more coming up in this hour of the Peter Schiff Show here on SchiffRadio.com.
The Peter Schiff Show.
Live with changed up